to tell me that she's good. Yeah, she's good, all right, I know her. Yes, she is. So, what we're going to see now in Paris, let's hope the weather gets a little better or stays like that, because it's a little cloudy. You see on the left, well, Victoria told you, this is the Opera House, Opera Garnier, because the architect is Charles Garnier. He built that opera for Napoleon III, who was a nephew of Napoleon. Did she say that? Yes? Okay, she was right. And, well, we are on the right bank of Paris. You know, in that city we don't say north and south. We say right bank for the north and left bank for the south. And that's the right bank and the left bank of the Seine. The river dividing Paris in two banks is called the Seine. So we are going to, I don't say to Christian where we go, he knows. We cross the right bank. We are going to go to the center, the cradle of Paris, which is an island in the middle of the Seine, the city island. Paris is a very, very old city. It was born in the 2nd century before Christ. It was born 2,200 years ago on that island. And it's a group of, you say Celtics or Celtics? People coming from northeast of Europe, which is the island. A lot of reasons, and today there's quite everything on that island still. And there's the center of the religious life, the cathedral, there's the police headquarters, the Palace of Justice, the hospital, and so on. So we're going to stop there, not on the island but nearby, because on the island we're not allowed, it's a protected area. And that's where you will have to stay with me, very close by me. We are going to walk, we are going to get into the cathedral, visit it, see the rose windows in there, and then we'll walk back to Christian's coach, and then we are going to see mainly the western side of Paris, because the west is the most beautiful, the most residential part. See the Champs-Élysées, see the Eiffel Tower, well, then a lot of historical places. So here, this is the Opera Avenue. We are in the Paris of the 19th century. That's the business district. Quite all those buildings are used more as offices than as private flats. You saw all the banks around the Opera Square. Here you have a lot of travel agencies and e-commerce. Behind the opera, where we met, there's the Galeries Lafayette, Le Printemps, the big department stores. So here there's the business part of the city. Right bank. Left bank is much more residential. That's the district of the universities. We're going to see both of them. And here, if you look all around you, all those buildings are the same. If you look carefully, they have 6 floors, all of them. And they have one balcony on the 2nd floor, one balcony on the 5th floor. That's what we call the Paris of Haussmann. Mr. Haussmann was administrator of Paris at the end of the 19th century. And he is the man who decided to transform Paris. That's when they destroyed a lot of narrow streets of the former city of the Middle Ages, and they opened the wide ways, the wide avenues, like here, Opera Avenue, to have the more beautiful city, of course, but mainly they had a political reason. They wanted to avoid the demonstrations and the revolution. You know, it is not so easy to build a barricade, organize a revolution in such a wide way than in the small streets of the Middle Ages. So the part of the Middle Ages which remained, that's around the city island. That's where we're going to go, in the oldest part of Paris. Now, very soon, at the end of this Opera Avenue, on the left, behind the trees, you're going to see the most classical theater in Paris, La Comédie Française, French comedy, which was a palace built in the 17th century for Cardinal Richelieu. Do some of you know Cardinal Richelieu? He was yes, exactly. He was a cardinal of the Three Musketeers, if you read the book. Prime Minister, very important man. So he lived in that building that you will see behind the trees on the left. And he wanted to live nearby the king. So very, very soon, after crossing a little street, we are going to get to the Louvre courtyard. the Louvre, that's the museum today, but it was built as the Royal Palace in Paris, and they built it for 400 years, from the 15th to the 19th century, for all the kings. So this is the French comedy, the theater. Then below the trees on the left you're going to see a new metro station. See those balls, red and blue balls? It appeared 5 years ago, just before Christmas. We thought that it was a Christmas decoration, but they kept it, and it's a new metro station. Look in front. This is the Louvre. Louvre Museum, biggest museum in the world. And Christian says he can't pass through that arch. Yes, he can. Yes, we can. Yes, you can, Christian. Look at that. Oh, that's wonderful. Another top of the wing built by Napoleon. Who couldn't imagine Christian's coach? Huh? It was a little more, but here we are, Louvre courtyard. You see the Tuileries Gardens on the right. You see the little arch of the Carrousel behind the white bus. Yes, okay. Thank you, Christian. You will see the little arch. It was built for Napoleon. And on the left, you see plenty of people waiting to get into the museum in front of the pyramid of I.M.Pei. You know that Chinese-American architect who built the new entranceway to the Louvre in 1989 for the bicentenary of the Revolution. The pyramid has a great underground lobby below, and that pyramid is a part of the greatest perspective, which is crossing Paris from east to west. Just have a look on the right as we pass in front of that little arch. Right now, on the right, you are going to see that great axis. You see the huge arch in the distance. We are not allowed to stop, unfortunately, but you could see it rapidly. There's 4 kilometers from east to west, so from the pyramid to the Arch de Triomphe. That we are going to see later on during the tour. So the Louvre is the biggest museum in the world, but actually for us it's only the classical museum. In the Louvre there's only the old masterpieces. It begins in the antiquities, you know. The Egyptian, the Grecian antiquities, and then the newest things belong to the time of Napoleon, so first years of the 19th century. And now in case you stay in Paris, in case you want to see the 19th century, if you want to see the Impressionists, for instance, they are not in the Louvre, they are in the Musée d'Orsay, which is on the other bank of the river. And the modern art is in the Pompidou Center. So here, we are going to drive along the Seine, the river that you will see on the right. So we are still on the right bank, and we proceed to the City Island. On the left, you are going to see the different wings of the Louvre. I told you they spent 400 years. So here, you see that little H written on the stone. That's the H of Henry II, the king who built it in the 16th century. Then you will see medallions at the top of the next wing with 2 L's back to back. That's the L's of Louis XIV, who was the Sun King and who built that wing in the 17th century. Yeah, but scaffolding, so that's a new fashion. They make decoration for the scaffolding. So.
It's too much to look at. Yeah, you need two hands. Yeah, I keep doing this. One way, yeah, whiplash. And I just wish trees would just go away every now and then. Why do they plant trees at tourist destinations? Thanks, I have to go. Yeah, we're definitely going to have these huge pictures. Everybody's getting different.
So here it's always a little crowded for the traffic on the bank of the river. So you will have plenty of time to see the Louvre. Facing the Louvre on the left, you are going to see a church called the Saint-Germain-l'Auxerrois, which was the royal chapel of the Louvre in the 17th century. If you look on the right, on the other bank, you see that dome, that cupola. That's the French Academy, or the French Institute. That's where the French dictionary is written, you know, once a week. There's 40 academicians, they are very great intellectuals at the end of their career. They meet here once a week, and then they think together about every word of the dictionary, of the vocabulary. Very serious job for them. Then you see Saint-Germain-l'Auxerrois on the left, former royal chapel of the Louvre.